Now, I'm delighted to join by Limerick football manager Billy Lee ahead of Saturday's Munster semi-final with Tipperary. Before we get on to Tipperary, Billy, we obviously have to touch on the penalties below and Ennis. I suppose for you being there, were you looking at the penalties? Had your back turned and listened to the crowd, or how did you approach it?
No, I watched them. I watched them. I was kind of the lads had all lined up there at some stage, right in front of the dugouts, but I had just gone way. I got about 20 yards behind them. I was standing there with the brother, and we were just watching it, and it was what it was. I suppose, from my point of view, penalties were going to determine a tie, and I suppose we looked at areas to try and improve as we stepped up into playing teams like Clare and their equals and so forth. So it was to see could we find improvement from where we were to go and take on Clare. And I suppose over the 90 minutes I saw that. So in many ways I was quite content. No, obviously, needless to say, you want to win the game. I want to get through, let me put it that way. But yeah, I was content that, and I suppose the biggest, the last play of the game in normal time, the way the lads didn't panic, they held their nerve, they kept prising and kept probing to try and wait for that open, and Hughie saw it, he went for it. It has to be said, it's a relatively soft free, but your man, the Clare defender, did put his hand on his shoulder. But I suppose from my point of view, it was the composure the lads showed and the experience and the maturity they now have not to panic and not to so that was really pleasing. And ultimately most pressure was on, and then Robbie stepped up and dealt with great temperament from him and slapped it over the bar. And obviously that went into the penalties, and the boys showed a lot of temperament that they have, so lots of, and that's just a couple of examples in the game. So quite content. If the penalties had gone against us, it wouldn't have been, you'd be disappointed, needless to say. You don't want to ever lose a game, but you have only to decide a tie because of the way the structure is at the moment, more so than anything. But look, I'm glad to be on the right side of it.
Yeah, and you're on the right side of it, I suppose. And it comes down a lot to your playing style, and you mentioned it there, the temperament. But there seems to be a real, I suppose, confidence in the players. And I suppose Brian Fanning showed that more than anyone else with his run up the field. But you don't seem to panic regardless of how a defence is set up. You can go as slow as you want or as quick as you want. But it's just total football, really, and confidence you have in the players, and obviously that they have in you. It's working both ways.
Yeah, I suppose so. Look, I suppose we've all seen the last number of years and what's currently going on in the world. I mean, you need to be able to go out and enjoy being with your friends, challenging yourself. Years of playing in the county they pass by fairly fast and then it's over. So, as much as possible now that the lads are up and running, and they have been for the last number of years, they're entitled to be enjoying playing football and enjoying being able to go come to train and having a smile. It's never as straightforward as that all the time, because they're, you can only put out 15 in the moment at a given time, and there's another 19 sitting behind that we have to be very conscious of as well. And it's just trying to keep that unity and togetherness and competitiveness within the squad. But and I think a lot of that just comes from honesty. They're honest. We're honest as a management team with them. Jay challenged us, we challenged him, but it's all for the right reasons, and no one tends to get too excited about things. And it's just an environment that you'd want to be part of for that reasons alone. If we just look around us, the world is not in a very, very good place. So being able to come to training and play matches every so often, it's quite pleasing, and lads get a lot out of it. So that all helps the whole trust environment and the good positive environment that's there.
Yeah, and I suppose since you came in, Billy, I suppose you came in at a different time when Limerick were in Division 4 and they're losing a lot of games. And I suppose you asked for patience, and I suppose strength and conditioning was a big thing, and you can see the difference physically in the players. But do you get a kind of enjoyment watching the players and satisfaction seeing the growth they have, I suppose, as players, physically, mentally, that the work that's been put in is being rewarded on the field results?
Yeah, I think that's the most thing. Look, these lads came in, we had to stand by them and stick by them, and many people would ask me why would they stuck by it. It's very simple, really. Like, you had lads Limerick lads, our own people who were striving to represent people in Limerick, and why wouldn't you support them? And why it wasn't going to be easy? It was going to be harder for them than it was for any member of the management, because they're the lads who had to put their bodies through it and try and learn and get the experience. And that's never an easy journey. We've all gone on journeys of life that gaining that experience, and we'd all reflect on life and say we'd have done that differently if we were a bit more experienced. So it was important, I think, that a lot of us stuck around and helped them come through. And they're really in a really good spot now. They're very accomplished at the level we're at, and we strive to try and go to the next level. Whether we'll get there or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we'll try and we'll challenge ourselves. And it's very pleasing, and both on a sport and on a personal level, to see these lads mature and they're getting on well in their working place, and that's all really positive, because I just think that helps the community around the county.
And I suppose the next level, Tipperary are standing your way, and you're no strangers to Tip. And I suppose this current journey you're on nearly starts with that win in Simple Stadium in 2019. And I suppose in 2020, you pushed them so close, it could kind of feels like a kind of trilogy game. But for you, Tipperary, a completely different proposition to Clare. They're probably a more physical, direct kind of team, but you'll be fully aware of the challenge on hand. Despite them being in Division 4, they played in the same day in Croke Park as you. They've played against you in recent years. You know how good they are.
Yeah, look, I suppose, firstly, you would say, they won the Munster Championship in 2020, and probably, a fallout from that was probably, I suppose, getting somewhat caught in 2021 in the league. They're certainly not a Division 4 team, and they proved themselves after the slow start, the first two games, to pull themselves out of it. And I suppose that you talk about resilience and character, and they have it in abundance, because they've been in 2 All-Ireland semi-finals. Not all the squad, but a lot of the squad, and they won a Munster Championship. So they're certainly a Division 3 and looking at Division 2 side. And that's not just because we're playing them at the weekend. That's it. That's where they are, and that's what they've been. And they were hair's breadth off going to Division 1 not too many years ago. So, look, we played them 3 times in each of the last 3 years, twice in Championship 1 and League. And I suppose we captured them some bit above and Thurles off guard maybe. That was an important match for us to just set the ball rolling. As you said, I think we had in 2019 in the league of 2019, I thought we had a lot of good performances, just weren't getting results. Probably just that bit of experience that we didn't have, that we probably had at the end of the Clare game to get the opportunity to equalise it. We didn't have it in those games. That game helped us in Thurles, and I suppose Tip were very, very well much aware of us in the following year. Fantastic score by Connor on the sideline to equalise it. They were the point up. We had a chance to equalise. It was unfortunate we didn't manage to take it. But it was a point in it, and we rack up to the league in 2021, a couple of months later, and I think there was a much more than a point. I can't remember the final score on it, but I know it was a point or two anyway. So there isn't going, and it's going to be the same as Saturday, and it's going to be very tight, very close. If it went to penalties, it wouldn't surprise me. It certainly went to extra time, it wouldn't surprise me. So there is nothing between the teams, and I suppose the team will work hardest on Thursday night, will make their own look for themselves, and if they can execute getting that look, they'll win the game, and that's the way it'll be.
I suppose one thing, I suppose it's not in your favour, but you have shown this year especially that you're well able to go on the road, obviously Aughrim, Belfast, Portlaoise, Ennis, and that you won in Semper Stadium in 2019, that yourselves you can go on the road and pick up wins, and this is the next step in the journey, and if you can get the win, you said it will be important to the team, but so be it. But this is the next step that this team is looking to get over the line, and you've shown that you can do it when your backs are against the wall away from home.
Yeah, look, we've been fortunate, I suppose, in a number of games over the last number of years. I suppose maybe starting with that game and Thurles away, and then we got toasted by Cork, and then we went to we went to Westmeath in the qualifier under a bit of pressure, I have to say. I felt that getting a performance out of the boys at that point was paramount to staying on at the time, and I'd shared that with the management at the time, that if we didn't perform, you couldn't stand over 2 poor performances. But thankfully the boys performed that day above again. We were learning, we were going forward, and I think 2020 we had a couple of away games. Sligo and Carlow. Carlow was, wind really deep into the, it was at injury time. Certainly lived very, very late on, and we won away to Sligo. I don't know that we win with swear or not. And then we had a couple of victories in Aughrim and Antrim maybe this year, you know. So I suppose Laois, yeah. So it does. It gives you some bit of. We went to Waterford in the championship. So yeah, look, I suppose, these things home and away, you can get too much into your head. It's a field. I suppose the biggest part of it is the journey. That how you manage the journey. You know, if it's away from home, you know, how the distance. That's the real key part of it in terms of making sure you're hydrated and you have the right quantity of food in the body and so forth. That's the biggest part, because at the end of the day, it's a field and you're taking on a team. Whether you're home or away, it's about that self belief. And if you let the fact that it's an away game into your head,